Hey guys, it's Joe Vizio. I'm in Florida, and let me tell you, buddy, it is cold here, man. I know it's probably nothing compared to what you all are going through, but I mean, come on, this is Florida, man. We're in the 40s right now, and I mean that is good as minus temperatures to some of you guys for a Floridian. So it's cold here. Just thought I would poke my head on here and make me a little video, talk about some things. And today's subject in particular, I would like to talk about the baby boomer generation. And what has been done. And I can't say that this applies to everybody who is from the baby boomer generation. I think there are a lot of you that can see what is happening, that can realize what has happened. And then there's people like me from Generation X that's really flipping the bill for this, man. So that's kind of, was bothering me. My parents are baby boomers. And my mother, she's never had anything. She gets a little bit of a disability right now. And when I say a little bit, I mean, they make sure she is like right on the poverty line. And, she's probably still getting back more than what she's put in because, my mother really hasn't been a worker her whole life. After her and my father split, yeah, my mother hit the workforce and has steadily been in there. And, if I were to estimate her age, she would have had to have been 25, 26 years old when she really hit the workforce hard. She kind of blames the fact that she didn't do that before on my father. And, I kind of also know that, times were different. I am a person that believes that any woman can get out and do anything that she wants to do, and she can do it as good as any other human being on the face of this planet. As long as you have that will to do something, you can succeed in what you do. But, I guess I kind of lean more towards the traditional, dad goes out and takes care of the bills, and mom is the absolute be-all, end-all head of the house. I think that, some of that really leads to some problems that we face today because we really don't have that strong family unity that we once had. But, I wasn't born in the 50s and before that, so, I don't know how miserable people were. I do know that men really didn't treat their women very good. But I don't want to argue about any of that. It's just kind of, what I believe. Now you got pretty much the whole population, men and women, out working. Prices of everything have skyrocketed to where even a husband and wife both out working still can't really make ends meet on a modest life. And your kids are being raised by the state pretty much, and they're bogus educational institutions. When I say bogus, sit around and think about what Common Core is, and you'll understand what I'm saying. So, you know, that's kind of what I believe. When my parents split, my mother was, you know, pretty much had no choice but to get out and make a living. I can't say that my father was exactly Johnny on the spot when it came to paying child support. And even at that there, it wasn't very much child support. Not nowhere near compared to what today's standards are. And for that time, you know, my father was making pretty good money. You know, he was the chief engineer of a major hotel in downtown Philadelphia. You know, he didn't exactly make $8 an hour. He made pretty good. He was probably in the mid-40s, and, you know, we're talking in the 1980s. So, you know, do the math. So, he definitely wasn't giving my mom 25% of his income. So my mom went out to work, and me and my sister had to grow up fast. You know, especially me. I was 7 years old. You know, I mean, I had some of the basics down, but, you know, it wasn't nothing for me to go to school with mismatched clothes on and my hair matted to my face because I didn't comb it or I didn't brush my teeth. Yeah, I was a 7-year-old boy, man. You know, we had to do a lot of the household chores, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with kids taking a little bit of responsibility, but this wasn't something that we did to earn an allowance. It was something that we had to do to make sure that the house was running properly. Me and my sister were pretty self-sufficient. I mean, as best as we could. You know, again, I still say that I was lacking some of them finer skills. But, you know, I figured it out. You know, we got ourselves up for school. And we went out to school and did our thing. And we came home and, you know, we had to feed ourselves and take care of the dishwasher and fold the laundry and, you know, do things to help Mom out, because by the time she took 2 buses and a train across the city to get home, she wasn't getting home till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. We were what was called latchkey kids, which nowadays, if your kid is a latchkey kid, whoo, man, they're going to come and take your kids away from you. That's how it was. That's how it is now. Times have changed. So we survived. We did what we could do. The baby boomer generation, I think, can be summed up with one very small 2-letter word. Me. That's what it was about. Meism. My father especially. I really didn't hit my mom until, you know, I was probably 13, pushing 14 years old, before my mom went out to live her own life. And I've explained in a previous video that, you know, I didn't have contact with my mom from the time I was, you know, almost 14 and until I was in mid-16. So there was probably a 3-year period that I didn't hear, I mean, nothing from my mother. My father looked at me and my sister like we were little crumb snatchers. Everything was his, And we were just a mouth to feed, a hand that was out. And, you know, I'm not going to want to take credit from him, because he did feed us. We did have the basic essentials that we needed to survive. But that was it. He was more worried about himself, what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it. And, you know, even when it came down to eating, it was, this is what I'm eating. You're more than welcome to join me, or you can go eat linoleum. It's how it was. The baby boomers sold us down the river. While they inflicted so many moral rules on their children, they didn't exactly practice what they preached. As my father would famously say, do as I say, not as I do. That was him, man. So as I had all this pushed on top of me, which, you know, a lot of times when you find yourself in that situation, you rebel. I was listening to somebody. I can't remember what this guy's name was. And I'll tell you, if I can't think of the name while I'm doing this video, I'll definitely post his name in the comment section or in the description, because, you know, he come up with some of this stuff and he deserves the credit for it. But he had taken on the argument of the baby boomers maybe not realizing what they were doing. But then again, you just have to go back and, you know, you consider who our teachers were, what our parents, the kind of lectures that we got from our parents, the moral standards that we were held to. And one example he used was like, you know, did you ever lose a library book? What did your parents tell you? Did they say, oh, that's okay, easy come, easy go, you know, the government pays for it, don't worry about it? No, they didn't tell you that. Better believe your ass was doing some extra chores or cutting grass or something to earn the money to pay for that library book that you lost. Well, that's not the same kind of standards that our parents had. You know, you think about this. They sold us down the river to these politicians for all their entitlements and deferred payments to the future. The future is now. We're the ones that are going to have to pay for this. A normal person that has morals is going to say, well, wait a minute. How are we going to pay for all these entitlements? How are we going to pay for the welfare state and these huge Social Security payments that we're going to get and things like that if you're not going to raise our taxes, if we're not going to pay for it? We can't do that. We're not going to put this on to our children. No, they did not do that. They took all the goodies that were showered down upon them, and now these, and I'll use a quote that this guy used, these graying babies are getting ready to eat us all with their Social Security payments and their Medicare payments. They're entitled to it. I worked for this. That's how they look at it. in Generation X and the Millennials, and even into Generation Z, whatever they're going to call that. We're all going to be paying for this. And I know that, you know, in some cases, Generation X is having a hard time seeing eye to eye with the Millennials. You know, I guess they're also kind of considered a me generation. But I personally think that the Millennials got absolutely screwed. Look at the educations that they're getting. I mean, at least at my age, you know, if I messed up too bad, the principal was allowed to take a piece of wood to my ass to straighten me up. Things like that didn't happen. It just, everything changed. The socialization of everything really started to take effect. Teachers hardly could get fired. I mean, you have to be you have to hit a student, or you have to be a sexual deviant to really get fired anymore. And a lot of these teachers, you know, their give a damn is broken. So they're just regurgitating what's written in the book, what they're told to read from the book. And then these millennials, which would be my kids, get out of high school and they're told college is everything. Go to college, go to college. In college education, which would have cost a couple $1,000s for my parents, probably, you know, I mean, a little more so for myself, you know, we're talking maybe $10,000 or better for a decent education. Now we're talking these kids are getting hit with $40,000 and $50,000 bills for their college education. And that's not even talking about going to some place like a Harvard or something like that. And what's happening to them? They're getting out of school, and there's nothing for them. They're fighting us for jobs. They're fighting their parents for jobs. And meanwhile, the baby boomers are sitting back in their rocking chairs. Oh, well, what about me? Where's mine? What am I going to get? I mean, we don't see this. I mean, look, I take part in a lot of political activism. Social justice warrior, keyboard warrior, do whatever you want. I mean, hell, you can't stand out on the street with a picket sign anymore because half the population is going to call you a racist. The other half of the population is going to call you a sexist. And they're going to be lucky if the cops don't show up and tear gas you and beat you with batons. So people have taken to the keyboard to protest. It's safer that way, man. You might live a little longer. So I take part in a lot of this. And the thing is, a lot of the other people who are into this, they just don't see it. A lot of people are into the conspiracy theory type stuff, which, you know, I mean, I've said before, I do buy into some of that. I do buy into the whole 1% theory. It's not a theory, it's a fact. But we have to really look at who is allowing this to happen. Who's in charge right now? I mean, the boomers have pretty much been in charge since the 1970s. And it don't even matter if the president is amongst the Generation X age. He's still, I'm sorry, I do not believe that the president has that type of control that you might think a president has. I'm sorry, I think that there's people behind the scenes. You look at Congress. Congress is filled with people that have parked themselves in these jobs. They are not going to give up these jobs until death takes them or they finally do get voted out. And it's more baby boomers that are voting them and keeping them in. So they're the ones that are controlling the world. They're the ones that are controlling our country. All these regulations and shit like that are just piled on top of us and that are absolutely crushing us. The rise of statism. The financial crisis, the housing crisis. This is all greedy baby boomers trying to get more and more for themselves. And then God forbid you call them on any of this. I was just having this conversation with my mom today, telling her that, and again, I can't remember this guy's name. I'll even post a link to the video that I watched. I was telling her about it. And her first response was to shrug her shoulders, like, I don't know what to tell you. And then start, oh, everybody's blaming me, blame me, blame me. And I even told her, Mom, I mean, this isn't you. You don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out. You don't have anything. You're not sitting in a $4 million house that you bought for $12,000 and falsely inflated the market. I mean, Christ, I mean, she's living in my bedroom. In one of my bedrooms in my house. I mean, she can't even say, and not that, I don't want to say that my mom's a burden, but can't she even see that the choices that she made has led her dependent on me? But, you know, as I told her, you know, Mom, I mean, this is more things like this directed at my father. You should listen to it. This guy really explains it well. I don't know what to tell you. It's always me. Blame me. Blame me, me. Well, you know, Mom, as much as I'm trying to take you out of that, I mean, you just prove the point that you're a part of it. Me. I don't ask anybody for anything. I'm Generation X. You know, I'm Generation X, born to narcissistic, greedy parents. I don't ask anybody for anything. I don't look for any kind of handouts. I don't try and take responsibility of my actions and put it off on somebody else. But I damn sure shouldered the burden of my narcissistic father making me feel like everything was my fault, and then take pretty much his whole side of the family and turn them against me when I got sick and tired of the bullshit and called him on it. It's like a double whammy. I mean, number one, he's a baby boomer, so he's not going to apologize for anything. He doesn't see that he's doing anything wrong. And he's a narcissist. And he can't see that he's a narcissist. He's perfectly fine. The problem is with everybody else. It's your fault. You didn't do this. You're not doing that. You're not doing it the way I tell you to do it. I mean, is it just me? I'm not even going to say that it's just me. I've listened to the Ollie Matthews rant. I've listened to this. I've heard plenty of different people talking about the same thing. And whenever the subject really does come up, it gets buried. Who buries it? The baby boomers that are in charge. Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Ah, it's just a conspiracy. Well, wait a minute. I got proof right here. Ah, that's conspiracy. It's not. It's truth. Look it up. There's some good numbers on this. You know, this guy, he was talking about, he even broke down the numbers. And I wish that I could give you the exact numbers that he used. And I'm sorry, my memory isn't that great. But again, I'm going to post the link down here in case you might want to listen to it. You know, he was going into some numbers from an article that was written from 1996. And this video was made in 2011, I think it was. And now here we are sitting in 2016, and what he's talking about has come true. It's happening to us. But of course, you know, when the politicians tell you about it, they want to paint it in a different picture for you and blame somebody else. Get us at each other's throats. Oh, look, here's a black guy protesting. He's a thug and he's a gangbanger. Oh, look, here's a white person. He's a rebel flag waving racist. Oh, this person's got a gun. He's a gun nut. These are the poor people, the middle, and everybody's at each other's throats. And nobody is looking at where the source of the problem is. And we're all falling for this election thing. I mean, Hillary Clinton is leading the Democrats. A criminal, a person who is under investigation for crimes, is leading the Democrats. And then here comes the divide. People, oh, well, I got to vote for her because she has a vagina. Oh, you're not going to vote for her because she's a woman. And number two for the Democrats, number two is a socialist. A guy that is proposing the same kind of shit, even more so, that got us into this kind of trouble in the first place. Socialized, quote-unquote, free bullshit that the payments are going to be deferred into the future. I'm sorry. I don't want to put that on my kids. I don't want to put the burden of this on my grandkids or their kids. I don't want to do that. That's not fair. It happened to me. So why do I want to do the same thing to them? And then, you know, let's get into the whole Republican thing. You have a reality TV guy that's just got the balls to say a lot of the crap that everybody is thinking. I mean, it's like I'm watching a reality TV show with this bull crap. And then it's a toss-up with Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or even what's his name? Slim Chris Christie. I mean, you're talking about a man with a severe eating problem, talking about people not being able to control themselves with marijuana. Buddy, you're in a glass house. Quit throwing stones. And this is what's presented to us to lead. I mean, you can't even see Rand Paul into these polls because the media wants to bury him. Not that he's my man, although I do respect a lot of the things that his father talked about. I think Ron Paul turned most of the would-be voters for Rand Paul into anarchists. Just look at the source. Look at where all this is coming from. Look at your childhood. If you had the same kind of childhood I did with narcissistic baby boomer parents, look at what's happening around here, and it's the same damn thing, just on a bigger scale. And just like when you were a kid, when your father told you, do this because I said so, and do as I say and not as I do, and you start to question them and you get smacked in the mouth, the same thing is happening to you. As soon as you start to bring this up, I damn guarantee you that it's either going to be a baby boomer or some brainwashed sheep that is in the middle of this division war that's going to tell you to shut your mouth. I don't know, take it for what it's worth. Take it how you feel to do on this. But I think I'm hitting the nail on the head. I think that Ali hit the nail on the head. I think this other guy that I was listening to hit the nail on the head. But nobody wants to see it. Let's just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And don't get me wrong. It's not like with Bernie Sanders is saying about, breaking up big banks and cutting the corporations down. It's not like I don't think that needs to happen, because it's this blood money that's getting into our political system that's buying off these politicians and screwing us over royally. Remember, money is free speech. It's not like I don't agree with that. But to go into a free, everything free society, socialism, I'm sorry, I don't think that's the ticket. I think that we're just going to defer payments off into future generations like was already done to us. And if you're from Generation X, or if you're a millennial right now that's way overburdened with college debt, struggling to find a job, and when you do find a job, thinking that your $150,000 that you're in debt for your education is going to get you a little bit more than $14 an hour, and now you're just like, what the hell happened? Think about it. It's not supposed to be like this. So, I'm going to end my rant here. I think I've said a lot. Maybe I forgot a detail or two, Shit happens. I will post that video on here, at least a link to it, so that you can see it. If I can't, then after this video, I'll just go ahead and share it to mine, just so that you can see it. I was going to share it on Ollie's Facebook page, but I kind of have a hard time just putting things on people's page like that without permission. I mean, that's your Facebook wall. It's not up to me to put my views on there, although I really think Ollie would appreciate it. Maybe I'll send him an email and ask his permission to do that. And this way, maybe some people that don't see this might be able to see that. It's truth, man. It's truth. It's 100% truth. And you can't hide from the truth. The sun, the moon, and the truth. 3 things that you can't hide from. So, thank you. Appreciate you.